Arpedia Online, known as the greatest fantasy game among modern virtual reality games. It uses a game-specific capsule to deliver to the five senses in a way indistinguishable from reality, and with their patented scanning technology, it creates an avatar identical to the user paired with the latest AI technology. NPS and monsters act like they have actual sentience. It even offers a well-paced, fun experience without the need to wail. Due to its popularity, people are even paying attention to the actions of the top players. But with one most noticeable among them is the rank 50 warrior, Bartz. The reason why people pay attention to him over other, higher rankers is because in Arpedia Online, where partying up is considered essential, he is a hardcore solo player who soloed the Rage Dragon. There are a lot of speculative rumors around him that he is someone connected to the developer, or that he is a rich boy who whaled an incredible fortune into the game. But his real identity is the unemployed Kang YuHan, and he is the main character of our story. Smirking, he states that he did not know why people were getting all excited just because he defeated a mere Rage Dragon. The community was in an uproar while he was visiting his grandmother. He then opens the game. But what? He was all naked. What the heck was going on? The other players were teasing him, some were creeped out by him and just avoiding him, some were thinking if they should report him. He was fully confused. He tried to calm the situation around and tell them not to report him. He then looks into his inventory, but it was all empty. He was all confused. Where was all his stuffs? He then starts looking for a report button. Again, when he looks at his status, he sees that he was a beginner level 1. He shouts about the situation in the real world. Scared by the sound, she comes to him asking what was wrong with him. He then, with all scared expression, says Mom. Her mother, thinking that it was a serious matter, gulps. He cries and says to his mother that he thinks that his account's been hacked. How? His account? She asks if he meant in his game. Kang YuHan nods. This makes her mother snap. With anger like a tiger, she shouts at him for causing a fuss over something like that. He said that he would figure out his life when he dropped out, but all he was doing was playing games. She slams the door, telling him that he will be going to give her an aneurysm. Kang YuHan starts sobbing as it took him a lot of time to raise his video game character, and he cries, stating that he wanted his Bartz back. The world's best solo player, the lone wolf, the lonely warrior, the dragon killer. Kang YuHan calls the game help center, the Dream Max Cooperation, and tells them that his character had been hacked. He had submitted a ticket, but he got a response that everything was normal, but that was not possible. The Max Cooperation then confirms Kang YuHan's name and phone number, that told him to wait for some time. Kang YuHan gulps, waiting for the reply. He then got a reply stating that his character was created 4 days ago and there doesn't seem to be anything abnormal about it. He got shocked hearing this, as he made his character during the open beta, and now all his levels had been reset, and on top of that he was completely naked. The helpline replies that the character he was talking about was deleted 5 days ago. He was shocked, asking how that could be, as he was at his grandmother's for the past week, and why would he delete his account? The DreamMax replied that they had world-class security system, and they start blaming Kang YuHan's management of his personal account for this mishap. They then state that their company had policy to change passwords weekly in order to prevent such occurrence, and since he had not changed his passwords on a weekly basis, their term sheet had clearly stated that the company did not take responsibility in case of a user's mismanagement of personal information. He then shouts that he understands and cuts the phone. Kang YuHan then thinks that since he had never deleted a character, but since it is erased, he must have been hacked. With tears in his eyes, not knowing who did that, he promises that he will never forgive that person. At night his younger brother came in his room, but seeing his brother mourning he was all confused as to what was going on. Kang YuHan asks his brother if he wanted a drink. His brother thought he was insane as he was just a minor. He then asks his brother if he finally lost at reading for the civil servant exam. Kang YuHan tells him that he really lost it and it was the day when his other half left the world, and thinking this he could not stay clear-minded. His brother could not care less as Kang YuHan states that he was going to drink himself to death as he thought of his brother as a loser who plays game all the time. Anyways, he tells Kang YuHan that their mother wanted a ladle from downstairs. Kang YuHan says that he was busy and tells his younger brother to go. His brother tells him that he needed to go to cram school, pointing out that Kang YuHan was unemployed. Kang YuHan could see that his brother had no respect for him and knew that he thought his big brother was beneath him. He then heads to the shop. It was his dad. He told him that they needed a new ladle. His dad asks why. He tells him that the old ladle broke while she was making fried rice. His father asks how hard she was using it. He said that all objects have inherent durability, and yet the others did not think about it. He then remembers something and then starts laughing. He had figured out something about the game. Eureka! He then dashes from the shop upstairs without hearing what his father just said. Arpedia Online has a durability system. Every piece of equipment consumes its durability as you use it. When its durability reaches 0, the equipment is destroyed. And because of this, the player will seek out blacksmiths who can repair a weapon ahead of time because the repairability changes by level. The better and more expensive the equipment is, the higher the level of blacksmith they had to entrust it to. Now, what would happen if a high-level blacksmith were to repair equipment for cheap? Then everyone would come rushing over to request equipment repairs. Bart's equipment was all expensive rare items, and there was no way a hacker would leave them alone. So, if a hacker had sold the items before deleting his character, then he can find the hacker by following the trail of their sale. He then enters the game seeking revenge. He is then welcomed to Arpedia Online. He then is prompted to log into the game. Kang YuHan tells the system that he was going to create a new character. The system agrees and asks Kang YuHan for his birthday. Kang YuHan tells the system to pick one randomly. The character picks the birthday to be April 4th and asks if he wants the name of the character to be random too. Kang YuHan says that he would name the character himself. He thinks what he should name it. He thinks of a strong and short name like his previous character Bartz. He then thinks of one. He tells the system that his name is going to be Zigg. The door of the Arpedia Online opens up, creating a new character for Kang YuHan, Zigg. He plans to make that name the greatest blacksmith in Arpedia. No change, the blacksmith tells Zigg that this job required endless patience and endurance. It was not something that a brat like him could challenge as he wished. With a raging voice, the blacksmith tells him to get out of his smith while he can. The character name was Smith Pabuchi, a blacksmith NPC. He then tells him to scream. This shocks Zigg. There are two ways to gain a production job in Arpedia. One is to learn by purchasing a skill book and the other was to learn by working. The latter allows people to earn money along with a job advancement, but everybody avoids it. That was because every master craftsman NPC had an odd personality. Among them, he was especially wary of Pabuchi because he would constantly pick a fight with him when he was trying to get his equipment repaired as Bartz. But considering that he was penniless, the second one was his only option. His level was 10 and he only had 30 G in the name of money. Thinking how hard a quest can be for advancement, he goes inside a smith shouting that he wanted to be a blacksmith. A blacksmith, the NPC Pabuchi asks. Zigg replies that he wanted to be the greatest blacksmith. Pabuchi tells him that there was no chance. Pabuchi tells him that he could tell from a glance that he could never be a blacksmith. Zigg tells him that was not fair, and he should at least give him a chance like a test before he fails him. A test Pabuchi is confusing. Zigg tells him that he would do anything that Pabuchi tasks him with. He says fine. There is a huge pile of wood. Pabuchi tells Zigg to chop all the wood there within a day, and if he is able to do that, he would reconsider training Zigg as a blacksmith. Zigg is shocked and asks if he was serious in giving him this task. Pabuchi says that he could quit if he wanted to. He then, having no other choice, starts to cut the wood. He was missing all the swings, even the wood was judging him. He then hits, but again misses. This goes on for a while and Zigg loses it. He shouts why did he have to do this, as he saw others advancing right away and getting taught how to hammer. Another player was passing by. He hears this and tells Zigg that it must be because of the affinity. Zigg asks who he was. He tells him that he was also a hopeful blacksmith apprentice. He then further explains the importance of picking a birthday character during a character creation, as it dictated the affinity with their jobs. They said that the production jobs especially have a rough early game if the affinity did not match. Zigg was depressed knowing that birthdays were that important. The other apprentice says that he was also struggling because of this. Zigg was confused as to what to do next. Should he make a new character? No, but then he will need to reach level 10 again. Rather than worrying, he plans to focus on this game. He then gets all heated up and is dead set on advancing to the top. So, he starts cutting the wood again. He misses 2 or 3 times, but then he finally starts cutting the wood. He was in the zone and started cutting the woods with full force. The sun had almost fallen. Pabuchi comes to assess Zigg and was surprised that Zigg had finished cutting all the woods. Zigg then stands up telling Pabuchi he did it just as he said and asks Pabuchi if he will be hired now. Pabuchi still tells him that there is no way that he would hire him this soon. He then tells Zigg to go to Mt. Lankle and mine 10 black coal, handing over a sword. Mt. Lankle mines, the suggested level to go was 1545. The mine's field boss, the Raging Boar, was level 45. Zigg asks if he was sure sending him there and asks Pabuchi if he will take responsibility if he dies, as he was just barely level 10. Pabuchi tells him that is why he was graciously lending him a sword and tells Zigg to stop being so whiny. Pabuchi tells Zigg that he could quit if did not like it. Zigg thinks that his affinity must be trash. He says fine and asks for the sword. After taking the sword, he makes Pabuchi promise that he will make him a blacksmith if he finishes this task. Pabuchi tells of course, and then he leaves for the mountain. His quest was to go to the location marked by Pabuchi and obtain black coal. The amount of black coal to be collected was 10. At the mountain, just like the wood, his mining skills were trash. He could not hit a single or straight. He then clams down thinking that the random brute force would not work here. He then tries remembering the pattern from the wood chopping skill. He lightly grabs the shaft and swings it with a circular momentum like he was yielding a sword. He then hit the ore and did not miss it this time. He had obtained black coal. He then smirks thinking that he had 2 years of experience with him. Alright, now 10 more to go. He kept going. Thinking of the pick ace like a sword, he hit the mine. And he had finally completed his quest and obtained all 10 black coals. The quest was completed. Now all he had to do was deliver the black coal to Pabuchi and he could advance to blacksmith. He then comes down from the mountain. The adventurers were fighting the other monsters. He comes down thinking that he would find the hacker. Just then the mountain boss, the boar, summoned in front of him. He gets a warning that the Raging Boar, the field boss, had appeared. Zigg could not believe his luck. He then starts running away from the boar as fast as he could. All the adventurers were shocked to see the Raging Boar running away from it. The raging boar was a boss that only appeared once a day at a random location. He thinks why it spawned in front of him of all places, and because he was aiming for the production job, he had shit for health and he will die even if the boar landed only one hit. The boar attacks him, but he manages to dodge it. It was aggro fixed into him. He will have to give up on running away. In this game, production jobs had an inherent disadvantage in combat. However, the nature of virtual reality games means the character body is connected to the real one. That meant that depending on one's martial arts capabilities and natural combat senses, disadvantageous fights were still viable. Zigg then went to attack the raging boar. He knew that the raging boar's weakness was the center of its forehead. No matter how weak the damage is, he could win if he can manage to precisely hit its weakness. He then aims for the forehead and attacks the boar, but the boar manages to block it. Before the boar could land a hit on him, he quickly withdrew away from the boar. The boar managed to stop him because he had low movement speed. If he knew this would happen, then he would have packed some dexterity potions. But right now, the boar was again racing towards him, and he had no idea what to do. He did not have an answer other than attacking its weakness. Should he run? No, he grabs the sword and thinks why was he getting so worried over just a raging boar? He was Bartz. His character may be temporary, but his class was permanent. He goes to attack the boar. Just then a message appeared telling him that his stamina was weak and that he should consume food. Ha! He was already out of stamina. Shit, his character was surely getting killed now. Just then an arrow comes flying towards the boar. Zigg was shocked seeing this. One of the horns of the boar was damaged. The boar was crying for his horn. What should she do? She had not thought that she would do so little damage. The boar was furious and raced towards the lady. She was scared and confused as to why the boar was now charging at her. Zigg shouts at her to aim for the center of the forehead, which was the boar's weakness. The girl hears this and aims at the center of the boar's head. She then unleashes a power shot. Her name was Arpedia. She had defeated the raging boar. Zigg was relieved to see the raging boar dead. He takes a breath and was relieved to have barely survived. Sia comes towards him and then puts her hand on his shoulders just as Zigg was about to say thank you. She then asks Zigg if they had met somewhere before. She tells him that he looked very familiar and tells him that she could be wrong too. Zigg thinks what was up with that lady, thrusting her face into his like that. Sia then calls Zigg again and asks if he had not heard what she just said. With a shaky voice he tried to tell Sia something but then dashed away shouting that he appreciated her help, but he had never seen her before. Seeing Zigg run away, she was sure that she had met him somewhere. 10 black charcoals. He shows them to Pabuchi, but seeing them now, he states that he had never seen their charcoal at the blacksmith's before. Pabuchi tells him that honestly, he had not thought that Zigg would be able to get these. Zigg has truly surprised Pabuchi. Zigg tells him that if he thought that he could not do it, then can he not make him to it. Pabuchi tells Zigg that he had to admit that he was wrong about Zigg and he could make a good use of his grit. So he hires Zigg. Zigg was happy hearing this. The system comes and asks Zigg if he wants to be a blacksmith. He then tells yes, as he had suffered through a lot to become one. The system congratulates him and tells him that he had now advanced to a blacksmith. He had finally become one.
Thank you for joining us in this recap journey. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button. Comment if you have suggestions, want more of the series. Don't forget to share it with your friends. Do subscribe if you want more similar content. This is Universe Nexus, your passport to the immersive realms of anime and manga.